I'm Wayne Brow, Chief Economist at FreedomWorks. Welcome back to Freedom University. Today we're going to talk about market failure and government failure. We've talked about the market and we've seen how it can be a powerful engine of growth and prosperity. But do markets always work? This has been a raging political battle with proponents of markets opting for limited government, while the market's critics point to what they call market failure and the need for government intervention. So it'll be useful to take a look at markets and some of the arguments that critics make when they discuss markets and market failure. Competitive markets force producers to provide consumers what they want at the lowest price possible. That is the beauty of the market. But markets aren't perfect, and there are times that they may not produce the socially optimal result. Let's take a look at some of the issues that prove problematic for markets. These include monopolies, asymmetric information, and externalities. Monopolists have market power that lets them charge prices that are higher than those of a competitive market. If I am the only provider of electricity, I can raise my rates without fear of competitors stealing my customers. Another reason that market may not achieve the perfect result is due to what we call information asymmetry. In simple terms, this means that one party to the transaction has more information about the goods in question than the other. If I'm selling a used car, for example, I probably have a better understanding of what may be wrong with the car than does the potential buyer. Health insurance also provides a good example of the problems of asymmetric information. It is difficult for insurance providers to correctly price products if they cannot assess the health of potential customers. These customers have a better sense of their need for health care and can use this information to their advantage. The result is that many of those seeking insurance may know better than the insurance providers that they are in fact in poor health and will require significant, costly healthcare expenditures. These examples show how differences in information make it possible to game the system. The final area that we will touch on concerns the issue of externalities. This is a situation where the price someone pays for a good does not reflect all its costs. Externalities can be positive or negative. A good example of a positive externality is when your neighbors spend a great deal of time caring for their yards and keeping their homes in good shape. This provides a benefit for you by making your house more attractive to potential buyers who see they are buying into a good neighborhood. Now consider a negative externality. The most common example is pollution. Producers create products for consumers, but in the process they may emit pollutants into the air and water. The cost of cleaning up the pollution is not included of the price charged to the consumer. However, there is a cost to society. So there's a divergence between the private cost to the consumer and the social cost of producing the good, and this is known as a negative externality. Critics of the market seek to regulate production or impose taxes that ensure that the market price reflects the full social cost of production. The economists and others who distrust markets often view their job as identifying market failures and coming up with government solutions for problems that they find. But before we jump to conclusions and claim that the government must intervene, let's take a closer look at the problems and some of the fallacies committed by those calling for more government intervention. The first problem arises from the fact that many have tried to make economics function as a science much like physics or math. When this happens, economists create formal models of the economy that supposedly generate ideal solutions. But in reality, the economy is not like physics or chemistry or any other hard science. The economy is made up of individuals, and individuals have free will and make decisions and don't consistently act the way the laws of physics or chemistry describes the real world. Yet complex models and idealized economies have some economists finding market failures everywhere and calling for more and more government intervention. But if these solutions are based on unrealistic models, we are not necessarily improving society by increasing the level of government intervention. When they do so, they often make an important mistake by assuming government has the power to first identify the problem and then come up with the ideal solution. Harold Demsetz, a famous economist, referred to this error as the nirvana fallacy, which means that these critics of the market are comparing an imperfect market to a perfect government. In other words, somehow the government has the knowledge and incentives to come up with an ideal solution that will correct every market failure. But as we discussed in earlier lessons, government regulators face the same incentives and the same limitations on information as those in the marketplace. Information is costly, we live in a world of uncertainty, and the knowledge available to any one individual is limited. So we can't assume that government will always have a solution for market failures. Markets are imperfect, but governments are imperfect as well. So while market solutions may not be perfect, there is no guarantee that the government will come up with a better solution. In fact, government solutions can often be far worse than doing nothing. This has led Harold Demsetz and other economists to create a new field of study that is called New Institutional Economics. Such analysis requires an examination of how market institutions address various issues compared to how government institutions would address those same issues. This eliminates the so-called nirvana fallacy and allows a more realistic comparison of the power of markets and the ability of governments to improve on the outcomes of the market. So when we hear stories of market failures and the call for more government as a solution, a little skepticism is warranted. Because as we know, bureaucrats and politicians have their own sets of incentives and their own institutional constraints that may yield outcomes that do little to improve upon and may in fact generate worse outcomes than those of the marketplace. All institutions are imperfect, and the challenge is to promote those that provide the greatest benefit to society.